tonight. Tell them Eric Draven sends his regards.
Walk out of here. They're gonna erase your sorry ass. You're nothing but street grease, you hear? Street grease, you motherfucker.
Is that gasoline I smell?
No, man. No! No! No!
It can't rain all the time. Excelsior, comic book horror show fans. It's your boy, Ricky Grimes. I am here once again with Joe the Psychologist, my beer brother. What's good, brother? How are you? How's your weekend going, man?
It's good. It's good. I mean, obviously by the time this drops, it's going to be past Memorial Day weekend, but it's Memorial Day weekend. So far, so good. Get to have some beers with my bro and talk some comic book horror.
Cheers,
Salud.
brother. Salute. The Crow first appeared in Caliber Presents Issue 1 of January 1989. The character was created by James O'Barr. In February of '89, the character's first limited series would hit shelves with the 4 issues titled Pain, Fear, Irony, and Despair. The character of Eric Draven would unleash his revenge upon those who had assaulted him and his lover Shelly, leaving them dead in brutal fashion. The Crow would go on to be published by various groups including London Night Studios, Image Comics, and IDW. Resurrected a year after his death, Eric would be granted incredible power by a spiritual crow who would become his guide. Extreme vengeance and violence would soon follow as Eric viciously hunts down his killers, forcing his pain upon them before taking their lives.
You're shot.
The Crow would soon be discovered by mainstream audiences as film director Alice Proyas helped birth the resurrection of Eric Draven. The film stars Brandon Lee as the undead vigilante, hell-bent on revenge and closure. Ernie Hudson as Sergeant Albrecht, Rochelle Davis as Sarah, and Sophia Shinas as Shelly Webster. The film would ignite a feverish passion among comic and action fans alike with its mix of brutality, dark imagery, horror, and metal soundscape. Brandon Lee will live on forever in pop culture history as Eric Draven, the Crow. Joe the Psychologist, when you go back and think about that year, do you remember anything that was going on in your life around that time?
1994? No, not really.
I was a sophomore in high school.
Well, I graduated in 1990, so I was well past high school at that point. Yeah, no, nothing comes. I mean, that's 30 years ago.
Yeah.
This is literally 30 years ago. I have a hard enough time remembering what happened last week sometimes.
Well, 30 years, 30th anniversary of The Crow, starring Brandon Lee. This is a film I didn't get to really watch much when I was younger. I saw it, but because of the sad news that surrounded this film with the death of Brandon Lee, and the fact that there's scenes in here that were obviously placed after his death to kind of complete the film, and that always threw me for a loop, and it felt morbid to me. I don't know why, because I was a lot younger. I didn't understand it as much as far as why they went along and actually finished the film and put it out. But going back and watching it, this fucking movie's awesome, bro. This is a movie that predated Blade, obviously, and you could see a lot of the similarities in there, the influences. And I don't like rock and metal in films, but this film is actually integrated with that genre because, of course, our man Eric Draven, a bona fide fucking rock star, bro. The guy had the looks. He had a beautiful girl. They were gonna get married on Halloween. How awesome is
Cursed.
that? Well, yeah, it is fucking cursed.
I would find it to be
cool.
cursed.
Well, after this, yeah, I wouldn't want to go ahead and do it. But come on, man, don't you wish you were born on Halloween?
No, I'm good. No. I already have enough darkness in me. I don't need to actually be born on Halloween to be like completely dark.
The character of Eric Draven appeared in Caliber Presents Issue 1, 1989, Fast forward to 1994. Brandon Lee steps in the character role of Eric Draven. Him and his girlfriend be brutally murdered on Halloween night. Being how the character has its roots based in comic books, and this is a horror channel, I think there is a lot of horror influence looming over this film. Talk to me, brother. Where are the horror connections in your opinion? Does it, let's see, it kind of
I
matches
mean,
mine.
I Spit on Your Grave, The Last House on the Left, Irreversible.
What's the
Those
common
are
denominator here?
rape revenge movies. And Eric, because she not only was murdered, she was raped as well. So you have a rape, murder, revenge movie. Basically, the hero, as in Irreversible, gets revenge for what they did to his fiance, and that's why this movie falls into the horror genre. They're, as you said, they're viciously, brutally attacked. She's raped. They're both murdered. I mean, that's how The Crow is basically rooted in the horror genre because it's a rape revenge movie.
Another nice caveat to throw on top of that too. Eric Draven, of course, murdered, came back from the dead. So he's not a zombie. He's not a ghost. He is still human, resurrected, gets his powers from the actual crow itself, which is, that's the superhero tie into it. But a man that is murdered comes back from the dead. That's horror to me. That
Yeah.
Imagine waking up like he did, clawing out of a gravesite, bro, in the fucking rain. You don't know what's going on. You're confused. You go back home. You see everything destroyed, and you start getting these flashbacks. That's horrific, man. If that's not
Yeah.
horror, I don't know what is.
It's, for me, we refer to him as the Crow, but it's the Crow itself that gives him the power. So he's
Yeah.
Eric
He's Eric, yeah.
for me. Like I would call him Eric. It just happens that the Crow is what's giving him these supernatural powers.
And I'm very anal about that stuff because if you look at like certain figures when they're marketed, it'll be marketed as the Crow. It's not Eric Draven, you know. It's like it's like Jaws. It's not the shark, you know what I'm saying? So it's like people call him Jaws, but no, it's not Jaws.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a good shout. We touched upon Eric Draven and the power he possessed and how these powers are required. Obviously, it's the Crow itself, which balances him between life and death. Talk to me, brother, since I'm not too familiar with this character outside of the film. I never read any of the publication works. So, in case you haven't either, what you do know, talk to me, man. Let's talk about his powers. Because, I mean, I do know what's portrayed in the film. In case there was something that was left out, I wouldn't know that. So, what's good, brother?
Well, and again, this is one, I did not collect this comic. I actually, even the only way I had heard of the Crow originally
too indie
was
for me
the
back in the
movie.
day.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
if you look at the publication history of it, it literally went to, I want to say, 4 or different houses before ending up at Image. Because for a little bit there, I thought it was an Image one. And then when we're doing this, I'm like, well, let me look this up, because I never collected the comic. I don't have a single issue, have never read anything. So any knowledge that I have is based on the movie and obviously stuff that I looked up. But as far as his powers, one, it's immortality, I'm going to say, because he can't be injured and he regenerates. Now, I think I did read, though, in the comic book, the regeneration takes place a lot slower. So for the movie, they did speed that up. Some psychic powers, because he can touch something, touch someone, and get a flash of memory. And that's why you're saying as he was walking around touching things, he's getting all these flashbacks. Because he didn't, for me at least, on rewatching it again, knowing that that's one of his powers, he didn't know that that's what's going on. So every time he touched something, it kept giving him all these memories, and he was overloaded with them.
When he grabs Top Dollar at the climax of the film, and he's pretty much projecting the 30 hours of pain and suffering that Shelly had to endure before she passed, he got all of that at once. Yep. And I can't even imagine what that feels like. And that's very similar to a power we talked about in Ghost Rider, the Penister.
Yep.
Almost the same, all the pain and suffering that you caused your victim, you're gonna feel that tenfold. So that is a pretty cool little touch there. I didn't know he could do that until the end of the movie.
Same.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And you said immortality. Yes, he's got agility. He's very agile. Definitely super strength because this guy he threw people around very easily. So I think overall he's not overpowered because I like the fact that if you hurt the crow, he starts to lose power, and I like that. He's not Superman. There's a way to really take care of him. And at the end of the film, I kind of glad that they introduced that because when you're too strong, you don't feel anything because all right, right now you're gonna kill everybody, but you're never like on the edge of your seat or oh my god, is he gonna do it? Oh no, don't hurt him. So you don't feel those emotions. So I'm glad they tossed that in there. The one thing I really appreciated about this movie that it never dragged. It's about an hour and 45 around there. The moment it starts, it's already in action. We got the couple getting into their little scuffle with the scumbags. Then quickly Eric gets resurrected, but then it goes back through the flashbacks as you mentioned before and tells us, it shows us through glimpses exactly what happened and why it happened. And of course, let's skip the bullshit, man. When Eric comes back, dons that paint, he fucks some people up, bro. Talk to me about this, bro. Started with Tintin. What's good?
Well, what I liked, because granted I have a Marvel shirt on, but if you sometimes notice, I have a lot of Batman shirts on. So Batman doesn't use a gun. The Crow did. He got his revenge with his fist, and he got everything through that he fucking kicked ass.
Yeah.
It sucks that he passed away. And I know that they've made sequels. I think the sequels didn't do as well. And I think, if I'm wrong, Edward Furlong may have played the Crow in one of the sequels.
I've never seen any of them, but
I haven't either.
Does sound familiar. Like he wasn't like wasn't he in Pet Sematary 2? Maybe that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, he was in that one too.
Oh, so he was also in the Crow.
I think so.
The Crow? No.
I think so. I might be wrong, and hey, correct me in the comments.
We could be wrong.
I'm not gonna look it up like right now mid convo with him. But if that unfortunate accident hadn't happened, I feel that Brandon was really invested in playing Eric Draven. You can see that he became the character.
Oh, so good.
And even if it would have just been a trilogy, but it's sad that you saw a good character done by a good actor as far as with action, because obviously the guy is skilled. His father is Bruce Lee. He knows how to do karate and all that shit. So he is capable of actually doing some of those moves and does the moves. And it's just what could have been is really sad because seeing how he fucked shit up, I would have liked to have seen some more of these Crow. I know we got the new one coming out.
The reason why it may seem like he was a master of everything is because the fact that he was immortal, meaning he would just jump into the fights. He would take bullets. He wouldn't care. He wasn't trying to avoid things. He would fuck with you. He would like pop in and out of the scenes, like that. And I love the fact that Brandon Lee, charisma for fucking days, man. Like the way he delivered some of the lines, and when he goes boo, and then all of a sudden he goes from there to like he sits down. You can see all of a sudden he starts thinking about, all right, the situation when he's talking. Oh, by the way, man, I totally forgot that Ernie Hudson and Tony Todd are both in this fucking movie,
dude.
I'm like, holy shit.
There is a lot of and I think the guy who plays Top Dollar was also in the Underworld series.
I know he was in Nope. He was in Nope as well. He was one of the characters in there. I love how, again, to Eric, it was all almost a game to him. Like he knew I can't die, so I'm gonna fuck with these guys. The way he would like. Also, I was like, damn, how does he get his coat again? I know he has a coat, but then when he kills Tintin, I'm like, oh, he got it from Homeboy. That's why. He would kill you in a way where like Tintin was master of the knives. Thunderbird, T-Bird, he was like the arsonist, so he burned the fuck out of him. He got so burned they could only recognize him through his teeth.
Dude, so, you picked up more than I did. So there goes to show I got to rewatch it again because I missed that little nuance the way he was.
The druggie, what he do to him? He fused him with so much fucking morphine that he OD'd essentially. So
shit, damn, that went right over me.
The way Brandon Lee got into character, like as far as the makeup is concerned, he didn't like the way the makeup looked on him when the actual makeup artist applied it, too clean. So going over with the director, it was agreed that Brandon would apply his own makeup the night before, go to sleep, wake up, and that's
And
how he would show up on set. So it could look
nice.
worn and
Yeah.
faded. So again, it kept it grounded. It looked realistic. It didn't look like it was just painted perfectly. It was wearing off as the film went along. So I think it was action wise great. The violence was good. I mean, for 94, I mean the film was filmed prior to this. I think 92, 93 around there. Got Brandon passed in 93, so because the film was shelved for a while.
Yeah.
And so the CGI wasn't they used CGI to fill in the blanks because of Brandon, when they needed to fill in those scenes. And honestly, I wasn't looking for it, and I didn't see any bad CGI that took me out. So that's
Thank
a
you.
plus right there. So,
I did know that had happened, but I never noticed it.
yeah,
Like
if you
I
pointed
can't.
out, I could probably oh yeah, I see it. But watching it now,
Yeah,
on
yeah.
a
Like
rewatch,
same.
they had a mask at first. They used this actual
Yeah.
mask that was molded after a casting on Brandon Lee's face, but and they were like, "Nah, it's too morbid.
Yeah, that's a little.
Can't do that." So yeah.
No, thank God they didn't.
Let's close it out, Joe, the psychologist. You know what to do. Give us that score and your final thoughts, my bro.
All right. So again, we go by the mutant powers. We have Epsilon is 1, Beta is 2, Alpha is 3, and Omega is 4. I saw this movie originally because I'm a comic book person. I knew this is a comic book character. I didn't collect it, but it's a comic book movie. Of course I'm going to watch it. And rewatching it again, and this time kind of watching it with the fact of knowing, Brandon's dead and that, this is basically his final performance, and seeing, because for me, I think that the reason the studio went forward with it was because they knew that this was a passion piece for him. Because I want to say that this was something he wanted to do. Like, this is a character that he went for, and he was perfect for it. Like, when I think the Crow in my head, I don't see the drawing. I see Brandon Lee.
Brandon, yeah.
That's it. And the what you told me about what he did with the paint, because it makes sense, because the character keeps going through until once he gets his revenge, then he goes back to the grave. But eventually the makeup will start getting more worn and not always look freshly painted on. Which is kind of, as I watched it, I felt like it was what you see with Heath Ledger and the Joker, similar to that.
Yeah.
And I loved it, because then I'm like, I wonder if Nolan took some inspiration
I can see
for
it.
the way the Joker was, the way that they had done the progression with the Crow. Rating wise, I'm gonna give this an alpha. I actually grew more of an appreciation on watching it for us to discuss the movie. Because we are so used to superhero movies where it's so power heavy that seeing the individual still rely on himself, because in the end, once he started losing, he became vulnerable, he still kicked ass by himself, which is why I love Batman. So yeah, it's definitely an alpha for me.
This film, what I loved about it is an action film. It's a revenge film, but action film, and in a sense of that's what you get when you go in. A lot of action, a lot of violence, a lot of there's drama in there. But what I like about it is not only is it focused on Eric and his revenge tour, it's also got these minor characters like Sarah, and you got Ernie Hudson's character. You get little scenes with them in between that flesh those characters out, that make you even more invested in this world that they're living in, and it doesn't make it feel hollow. It's not just little Eric's world and these villains. No, you see how that whole city, what these criminals are doing to it, how it affects everyone from the police all the way down to characters like Sarah and her mother, for example. And that brings a lot of heart to the film. This film's an Omega for me. It's a
Nice.
Classic film. The only nitpicks I have on it, and I always bring this up, is that they used it again, Joe, that slow motion where it's everything's choppy, and a few transitions are like little freeze frames, and then it just cuts to the next scene, which was weird. I've never ever seen that in film before. The characters themselves are so good and you root for them. And like I said, Brandon Lee, what a star he was going to be. And the fact that this is Bruce Lee's son, he avoided typecast, but no, I'm not going to do a kung fu movie. I'm not going to be the next, Bruce Lee. I'm not my dad. He took this role and there was no martial arts in this film whatsoever. You mentioned it. Punching, kicks, shooting, stabbing. Like, this film is awesome. And his surrounding his death too. I think it was a scene with Funboy, the actor who accidentally killed Brandon Lee. His name, I don't know his name off the top of my head, but it was the actor who played Funboy after he killed Brandon by accident. I don't want to say it like that, but that's what happened essentially.
It was an accident.
He quit film for a long time. I think he came back for Seven in a very minor role until he passed. I believe it was 2016.
I don't blame him.
And what happened was too, it was a malfunction. Whenever they use blanks, they take the shell, the cartridge, and they remove the tip.
Yeah.
So it's a hollow tip. It just makes the noise, but nothing comes out. What happened was some genius wanted to, I don't know if they were cutting corners or not, but they forgot when the gun shoots, the not the tip, but the back piece of it stays inside of the actual chamber. You're supposed to take it out, put in the next round. What they did not do was they never cleared it out. So when they put the next hollow point in there, the actual casing from the prior shot was still there. And that is what penetrated into Brandon. As far as the film, it's not perfect, but it's a damn classic. This film, it's memorable. The character's memorable. If you watch wrestling, the character Sting took his whole entire look from the Crow.
Pretty much.
I mean, propelled him to heights.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
Even to this day, Sting just retired and he still was rocking that look. So it's a very popular character, very memorable. Eric Draven will live on. I don't know about this newer movies though, honestly.
We'll see. I'm glad we put this on the list. When we were coming up with, and I had said, hey, we should do The Crow.
Good choice.
And it was because from what I recalled, it was a rape revenge. And that's why I had specifically, I was like, if Rick tells me this is not, I'm going to point out how it is. But yeah, no, I'm glad we did it. If you have not checked the movie out, it's actually available on Prime and Paramount Plus. So you have two different platforms where you can stream it on. Definitely check it out. Hey, this was done 30 years ago. So the new one's coming out pretty soon. Watch this one, then you can watch the remake, and you're probably gonna see that Brandon Lee's is gonna end up holding up in the end, I feel.
Yeah, man, such a great character. Thank you for this episode, and thank you for watching another episode of the Comic Book Horror Show here on Horror Fiend TV. My boy Joe the Psychologist. Joe, take us home, my brother.
And we are out.